So a little bit of veteran experience, but really the difference between 4 fights and 9 fights at this level that they're at might not be that significant.
Well, if you're looking at rounds boxed, Aucoin has 45 rounds versus Cook's 10. So that tells you in terms of experience. If you're talking about tests of the chin, this is definitely one for Chris Aucoin. We are well aware of the skills of his opponent. He has been featured here on Rogers TV before, particularly inside the Hershey Center, and let's welcome him back to the ring.
And now let's welcome to the ring, fighting tonight out of the red corner, Brandon Bad Boy Cook.
This will be a 6-round fight. Brendan Cook is well used to 4-rounders. This is a jump in rounds for him. But I tell you what, you can hear the capacity crowd. In fact, on Twitter, at his Twitter account, BadBoyCook13, he has said that he has sold 8 tables and over 100 tickets to this fight. So you know he has a hometown advantage.
And these tables aren't cheap.
No, they're not.
I have people at the table behind me. I know what they paid. So Brandon Cook, like I said, he brings people out here. People want to see him fight. When people think about boxing, when you try to bring the casual fan out, you want to show them people like this because it looks like a fight. Sometimes boxing can't be that thrilling to new fans. Brandon Cook makes it very easy to bring those in.
He loves to come forward. We know that he has that no-nonsense attitude. He will eat a punch to give you 3, and that, like you said, often riles up the crowd, and that's the kind of fighters they love to watch. As Brandon Cook makes his way inside the ring, let's get to the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for our co-main event, and it is being brought to you by United Boxing Promotions in association with Hennessy Sports, MO Productions, and Eye of the Tiger Management. It is sponsored by TransClean Protein, Everlast, PartyStarPoker.com, Superstock.com, Pillar Security, and BoxingExaminer.com. This bout coming your way is scheduled for 6 rounds of boxing in the middleweight division. Our 3 judges assigned, scoring on a 10-point must system, will be Kelly Zolnierczak, Alan Davis, and William Boudhou. Our referee in charge, the 3rd man in the ring, will be Mark Simmons. Introducing to you first, fighting tonight out of the blue corner, he's wearing black trunks and weighed in at 158 pounds. Hailing from Brantford, Ontario, Canada, his record consists of 4 wins, 5 defeats, and 1 draw. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chris Aucoin. And his opponent across the ring, fighting tonight in this co-main event out of the red corner. He's wearing blue trunks with black and silver and weighed in at 159 3/4 pounds. Hailing from Ajax, Ontario, Canada, he is undefeated with 4 wins, and 2 of his 4 wins come by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Brandon Bad Boy Cook.
Great, guys. We went over the instructions in the dressing room. I want a good, clean fight. When I say break, you stop punching, you step back, and protect yourself at all times. All right, touch gloves.
So this one in the middleweight division scheduled for 6 rounds. A little bit of a weight advantage for Brendan Cook, not too much.
A little bit. I mean, Aucoin has actually fought all the way up at light heavyweight. You wouldn't know it when you look at the size of these 2 fighters. Brandon Cook looks much the bigger man.
Look for Brendan Cook, as we mentioned. No nonsense, move forward. So Aucoin early on pushing Bad Boy to the ropes, though.
Again, I was speaking with Cook's corner just yesterday, and they said, hey, we want to show that we can box a little bit in this fight. We're not just a forehead first kind of brawler, but I get the sense that Cook's instincts will eventually take over.
It'll be interesting to see Cook in those 5th and 6th rounds if the fight is to last that long, simply to see what he has learned in the gym and how he adapts to that situation in a professional environment. This card is all about young guns, as we mentioned. A lot of up-and-coming fighters looking to make a name for themselves. A lot of luminaries sitting in the arena, including a young up-and-comer as well, Tyler Asselstein, sitting ringside. Another big name associated with United Promotions.
Trying to add to the list here, Arda. I'm looking around, but it's fairly dark in the crowd. George Chavallo's always here. And he is one of the faces.
He's always a welcome addition.
He's always a welcome addition. And he is one of the faces on that new Canadian welterweight belt. Got a chance to look at that yesterday as well.
Nice.
The brand new hardware. Picture of Tommy Burns and a picture of George Chavallo on the strap.
George Chavallo belongs on any Canadian title.
Absolutely.
Featherweight, sure. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter they fought at heavyweight.
Yeah.
Interesting, we spent a lot of time talking about Brendan Cook moving forward, but in this round he's been moving backwards.
Yeah, we apologize to anyone who expected, crazy action in the first round. And Cook doesn't look as comfortable, Arda, moving backward in boxing this way. When he's moving forward, everything seems to be put together. Right now he looks a little uncomfortable, as if he's forcing himself to box a little bit. There's a good left hook to the body.
Still have to remember this is his 5th professional fight. Definitely lots of development here. And let's talk about that. The head movements, the cutting of the ring, the combinations. I mean, these are all things that maybe he's just looking to unload in this fight, and it's going to be treading new waters.
Certainly, and it is not a bad thing to get rounds in either. These are some of these things you need to learn on the job, and not just in the gym, but without the headgear, in real live game situations. And these are things he's going to need to learn, and these little tactics, more than a tactic, but the ability to fight on the outside is something that he's going to have to tap into if he wants to move up the ladder and get to the level that he wants to reach in the sport of boxing.
So round number 1 comes to a close. Brendan Cook moving backwards for the overwhelming amount of that round, but how did you score it?
I still think he won the round, but I am fairly convinced that he could get a point out of here if he wanted to. And I know that sounds premature, but I think if he started moving forward again, if he decides to do it, he's going to get a point in trouble.
Taking a look at some of the highlights, Brendan Cook using some of those combinations that we talked about.
Yeah,
there's one right there, boom.
He's putting the jab out there, and he gets that hook to the body, but he's a little far. He's catching the point with the very end of his punches, and that's what I mean about Cook being a little bit better suited at closer proximity, because when he throws that jab and that hook to the body on the inside, he's throwing it with power.
All right.
Round number 2 is underway. Brendan Cook in blue, Bad Boy on his trunks. Chris Aucoin in black with white trim.
This is where Cook can really dig that hook to the body. You saw a second ago, he's reaching with it a little bit. He needs to jab his way in. Unless this is what his corner is telling him again. But he's better off sort of at this range or closer against the corner.
Chris Aucoin seems to have more of an offensive mind in this round, trying to throw more punches, trying to get Brendan Cook off of his game plan, or trying to disorient him in that ring. Cook, though, using that power, he'll be able to throw a point around in this fight if it comes to that.
Get some shiny new rival trunks as well, Arda. Luxuries of winning a few fights.
Not only is Corey Erdman an expert color commentator, he's also boxing fashion expert.
That's right, an expert in shiny trunks.
And in-style boots.
Well, ones from this decade.
And perhaps purchase championship belts.
Well, did you notice as well that Benito Quiroz wasn't wearing socks?
Yes, that I did notice that as well, yes.
He was like a Tarahumara Indian. He's just sort of wearing moccasins in the ring.
Absolutely, yes. That was noticed, yes. That was put in the coffers of the mind, though, and I'm glad that you brought it out of there.
Well, it's a long broadcast.
Sometimes you got to talk about socks. One man in this fight is wearing white socks, the other black.
Hook to the body and then upstairs by Brandon.
Nice
Cook.
uppercut there by Cook.
This is where he wants to be. He's comfortable fighting on the inside. I'd like it if he spun a coin around here. There we go.
And there it is, yeah. And like we said, he will have the power to do so. He will be able to impose that throughout the fight. Look at them going forehead to forehead in this fight. They have no problem fighting in proximity.
No, and this is what we expected from Brandon Cook, and this is where he's comfortable and could probably dominate a corner.
You know what, Corey? We were talking about how Cook has no problem eating a punch to give you 2 or 3. Now we're seeing a 1-to-1 exchange here. That may be due to a change in game plan, perhaps?
Maybe, but he's going to win those one-to-one exchanges. And there we go again. I like that he's spinning Aucoin. Aucoin's footwork is very clumsy, and if he wants to spin him around and get position, he can. I think he just needs to realize that Cook's corner needs to be telling him, get in front of him, get Aucoin's back on the ropes, give yourself some space, and unleash.
Looking for holes there is Cook with those hooks. Nice straight jab there. Lands. Landing more with those jabs. He seems to be finding a home with those jabs. He seems to be throwing them at will at the end of this second round. Nice uppercut there as well by Cook.
A little bit of excitement here to end the round. Those jabs
all due to the jab.
Well, the jabs are landing because Aucoin doesn't really move his head so much as he kind of waggles it back and forth. He looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's not really moving his head, it's just there.
Or D'Lo Brown,
right,
perhaps.
and it's getting hit with that jab with ease by Brandon Cook.
Here we look at some of the highlights. I mean, this is jab central right here. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 jabs in a row landing on the chin.
You know, it's a good sign when a prospect or an up-and-coming fighter can double up that jab, but it's good to see that he can push 8 of them out there at once.
He did, Aucoin did land a counter there, but it didn't seem to phase Cook, and I think that Cook is going to get more confidence from that as well. He's starting to understand that nothing is going to phase him, much like in the Denton Daly fight previously.
And you have to understand, too, that if you're going to throw 8 punches, that, yeah, you might get hit with 1 in return. That's a pretty good ratio. I like that exchange.
Not bad. 8-1. Round number 3 is underway. This is scheduled for 6 between Brendan Cook and Chris Aucoin. Aucoin with a record of 4-5-1. Brendan Cook is 4-0 with 2 knockouts. Brendan Cook trying to find a home for those uppercuts as well. Aucoin trying his hand at combinations now.
Aucoin's corner telling him to tighten up a little bit, and that's a good idea because you don't want to give lanes for Brandon Cook to land those uppercuts. And if he can tighten up, get that guard up there, he might take that away from Cook and force him back up to the outside.
Not sure if it's noticeable on the telecast, but Aucoin has a tattoo on his stomach that says game. It's not filled in.
That's right.
It's just the outline. Always interesting to see the motivations behind fighter tattoos. And
well, the motivation here is to make enough money to get it filled in, I would assume.
Again with the jab, again landing. You're seeing the earmuff positioning from Aucoin, and that is allowing Cook to get that jab right through. Nice looping hand there, though, by Aucoin. Interesting, in 3 rounds, Corey, we haven't seen Brendan Cook moving forward too much.
You know, I should have believed Cook's corner when they told me that he was going to be doing this. And if his corner is telling him to do this and telling him to get the rounds in, then we have to praise Cook for following instructions and doing it. It's just not what we expected from him, and certainly not what the crowd is used to seeing out of Cook here at the Hershey Center.
More shots in proximity by both fighters. Cook and Aucoin perfectly happy to fight forehead to forehead.
And that's where Cook really cranks on his punches and gets that leverage on them. You haven't really seen him commit to too many hard left hooks the way that we had before. He was doubling and tripling those up last time out. Not the case here tonight.
Now Brendan Cook is putting his head down. Aucoin did land a big looping left hand there, and that may become the case as this fight continues on. But more exciting flurries here. The crowd is starting to stir as Cook. Oh goodness, Aucoin almost had an opportunity there to knock him down as Cook was getting out of the ropes.
Well, Cook's landing a good short right uppercut on the inside, and then he's moving away so he can't be countered, and I really like that. He looks for little things like that hard right hand.
Round 3 is coming to a close.
Cook's starting to warm up and to go back into the fight that he's used to.
We're talking about the uppercut earlier, right at the end of that round, and throughout this round, Corey, it has been finding a home.
That jab and that right uppercut on the inside have been finding a home, but it's that left hook to the body that we were used to seeing from Brandon Bad Boy Cook, not just to the body, but then bring it upstairs. That's what's been absent, and I imagine that a couple of those, combined with the uppercuts and the jabs, put all that together, and that's the knockout formula.
As we take a look at some highlights from this round, how do you score the round?
I definitely gave it to Brandon Cook. I mean, he was snapping the head back of Aucoin. Aucoin wasn't doing too much more than keeping constant movement. You know, he pushed a couple punches in there, but he was doing a lot of grabbing and reacting to what Cook was doing.
Just over the halfway mark of this fight, you have it 3 rounds to nothing.
3 rounds to nothing. And I just saw in his corner they're signaling for more uppercuts, so let's look forward to that.
And why not?
Well, it's working.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The old adage. And that jab, again, it's the jab and the uppercut that's really paying dividends for Brandon Cook right now.
The very first jab of this round, Arda, opened up the nose of Chris Aucoin. Right now, it is spraying down his face.
You got to wonder how that's going to affect Aucoin, if it's going to make him more desperate as a fighter, if he's going to notice it at all. Right now, again, with the big flurries, this is the Brandon Cook that people are aware of as he's continuing pressing the pace of the fight, but Aucoin is staying with him.
Well, this is 2 fights in a row that we've seen Brandon Cook with an opponent with nose spraying blood out of it, and so you have to believe that right uppercut has a little bit of power behind it.
Just to give you an idea, not that you needed one, for the proximity that these 2 fighters are fighting in, you can see fresh blood on the forehead of Brandon Cook, and that's not from a spray. That is from exactly.
Well, Artie, you have a monitor up there, but I'm going to have to use a shield here to.
I remember clearly when Al Bernstein was with us on the call in our last fight, a big spray of blood right onto my nicely dry cleaned suit, and you know what? That's a I can accept that as a form of payment for doing this job. So
courtesy of Brandon Cook, by the way.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Cook. This could be 2 fights in a row. At least I have a souvenir. Nice uppercut again in close proximity. I don't think Aucoin saw that one, and I think that Cook is landing those very, very well throughout this fight. And that blood is getting thicker and thicker on the face of Aucoin. And in fact, it's spraying around all the way to Cook as well.
It is, and I'm trying to brace myself.
Aucoin with some combinations, though.
He is. Well, you can see sometimes when you see a fighter with the crimson mask, Arda, they start to get that desperation and things starting to click. And in fact, Aucoin, he's not doing terrific here, is throwing his hands more than he had before. He's getting that sense of desperation. He knows the things aren't going too well if he didn't before.
Since the drawing of the blood, Aucoin has been the most active he has been in this fight.
He has, but he's putting himself in danger because it's inside where he's gotten himself hurt. And now you see Cook landing that left hook that I was talking about. He's throwing it. It's short. He's throwing it upstairs. And it's just adding to the redness of the face of Chris Aucoin.
Nice body shot there leading to a hook. Brandon Cook with some great combinations as this round comes to a close.
And Cook did something I really liked toward the end of the round there. He took one step back and then threw the left hook so he could get full extension on it, and it created an opening because Aucoin dropped his hands. You'd like to see these types of things in up-and-coming fighters as you watch them come up.
Taking a deep breath in his corner as we look at the highlights in round number 4. Much of the same, Brendan Cook on the offense.
Yeah, fighting in the phone booth. This is assault and battery on the inside. This is what we thought we were going to see from Brandon Cook. He took those rounds 1 and 2, to show off some of his boxing ability, get the rust off, whatever he was trying to do. But now he's back in his element, forehead to forehead, busting up his opponent. Bit of
Vaseline there by being applied in the corner of Brendan Cook. A little bit of cuts on his face as well, so you can tell that Aucoin is landing on some of the shots, but clearly the damage is more on Aucoin.
That's something you have to be wary of when it comes to Brandon Cook, is that fighters like him who fight in the manner that he does, you don't know what their shelf life is, Arda. So that's why they're keeping him active. He's fighting again on March 31st in Buffalo, and that card with Lionel Thompson. You have to keep them moving because you don't know how long you can fight in this manner.
These are the kind of fights that take years off of a career. Exactly is what I'm trying to say. And you can see the damage. I mean, it's visible, it's apparent. But these two are definitely displaying that warrior spirit in this fight as they soldier on. Nice shot there by Aucoin lands. Cook looked almost disappointed in himself that it did land.
Well, he forgot to keep his hands up as he backed out, and he knew that. It's a good sign. He acknowledged his mistake on the fly.
If I'm Aucoin, what am I thinking right now? I'm losing 4 rounds. It's a 6-round fight.
He's not fast enough to win this fight at range. And even though he's taking the pounding on the inside, if you have to choose one, if you have to choose a way to win this fight, you have to be there. Because if you're Aucoin and you're trying to land that knockout punch, which is probably what it's going to come down to, if you're trying to win the fight and you're Chris Aucoin, you're going to have to do it from here. So it's a catch-22 for Chris Aucoin right now. He's getting battered on the inside.
Nice shots landed by Brendan Cook. Although Aucoin is the one that's pushing Brendan Cook back, maybe he got phased as well. But the crowd earlier on chanting "Bad Boy," definitely a hometown advantage for Cook. And that could prove to be vital in the last couple of rounds as the crowd tries to rally him to victory.
You see, in this case, Cook is allowing Aucoin to come forward. He's allowing himself to go back on those ropes because he knows how potent that right uppercut has been. So right here, you'll see it again. He just tried to throw it. He's just setting up openings for it and landing it all night.
Nice body shot by Cook. He has time to think about his combinations as well, as Aucoin is waiting to be on the defensive in some situations. Nice counter there by Cook. Again with the jabs. The jabs have been landing all fight for Cook. There it is. He corrected himself. He had his hand up as he was moving back. Exactly. Aucoin went for the same punch, and Cook this time, like we said, corrected himself and kept his hands up. Big flurry to end the round.
Cook took another left hook and then a straight right, a sort of straight right from Chris Aucoin at the end of the round there. So he is getting in a little bit, and those are things that he's going to correct on the fly. I'm sure his corner will tell him about here.
Wear and tear is certainly becoming a factor, especially in a fight like this. You got to wonder who's going to have the more stamina going into round number 6 as we take a look back at round 5.
Yeah, here we go again. Brandon Cook, as I mentioned, allowing himself back on the ropes because he knows that he can land counters on the inside, hard counters like that right uppercut, like that left hook just a moment ago. That's what we were looking for in the first 2 rounds. We wondered where they were, and he's found them, and they're paying dividends down the stretch.
Still a shutout for Cook?
An absolute shutout for Cook.
Fight fans, let's cheer these two combatants on. This is the 6th and final round.
Both men embrace at the start of the final round. And you know, both of them, there you go, with that sense of urgency, especially Aucoin, who knows that he needs a knockout in order to win this fight. And you can see that punches and bunches, flurries, you're going to see it all in this round likely. And again, that uppercut keeps landing for Cook. Every time Aucoin comes forward, that uppercut finds a home.
Well, we talked during the ring introductions about the lack of power from Chris Aucoin. But Brandon Cook still has to behave as if he has power. He's getting caught with some kind of silly shots along the ropes that he shouldn't be, and he has to act as if this were a guy that could hurt him, or else he's going to get into bad habits.
The crowd chanting "Bad Boy," rallying for the hometown kid.
Everywhere ringside putting their shields up here, aren't they? A lot of blood flying around from the face of Chris Aucoin, and a little bit for Brandon Cook as well. That cut over top of the right eye has opened up a little bit. Vaseline hasn't kept it shut.
Not since Gangrel have we seen this much blood flying in a ring.
Yeah,
right?
well, the Brood kind of has the upper hand in terms of this one. A lot of blood flow.
More close proximity fighting here. It looks, honestly, from fight to fight, if you were to watch Brandon Cook in the last fight versus this one, you absolutely have to make the point, technically speaking, he has gotten exponentially better. He's being chased around, he just got slipped up to the ropes there, but that will not do much damage as Cook finds his footing.
What I like in this fight is that he is the one reacting. Last time out, he was able to press the fight and come forward, do things on his own terms. And he is fighting on his own terms in this fight, but countering is something that we hadn't seen out of Brandon Cook before, and he's shown that in bunches here tonight.
.25 seconds left in the fight. Brendan Cook, it's really been the jab and the uppercut that has landed the most for Brandon Cook, as we will let the pictures do the talking in the final seconds. The crowd absolutely loving it. Another spectacular performance by Brandon Cook, who likely pitched a shutout here. A game performance by Chris Aucoin, but he just didn't have enough to bring to the table to stifle the bad boy.
Listen, to the casual fan who doesn't know or care about footwork or head movement or technical boxing skills, this is exactly what they want to see. And that's why we get crowds of 5,000 people here, because they've matched guys like Brandon Cook well, and he puts on good fights every time he's in the ring. Obviously, there are deficiencies, and he's going to have some trouble as he tries to move up, but not yet. He's putting on tremendous fights, and people are paying to see it.
Well, that reputation will certainly continue after this fight. The fans, by applause, you can tell that they certainly feel they have gotten their money's worth in terms of what they have seen from Brandon Cook in this fight. As you see a couple of bad boy t-shirts in the crowd. Probably one of the many tables, 8 of them, that he has sold for this fight alone.
And they've raided the merch stand.
And I tell you what, a promoter loves a fighter like that. Not only one that's exciting in the ring, but that's selling tickets for his event.
Absolutely. He's allowing Adam Harris to just kick back and watch the fans roll in.
Enjoy.
Doing his job for him.
Let me know if they want to take you.
Brandon Cook saluting the crowd, and the crowd responding favorably for another exciting fight from the Motor City Bad Boy. Chris Aucoin, however, getting his share of respect from the crowd for a job well done as well. A game fighter. Brendan Cook was not able to stop him. He did show a lot of heart. If there's one thing to take away from Chris Aucoin in this fight, despite a losing record, he did show a lot of heart and tenacity. And didn't mind fighting on the inside. Thomas Triber now has your official decision.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 6 rounds of boxing, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge Kelly Zolnierczek scores it 58-56. Judge Alan Davis scores it 59-55. And Judge William Boudhou scores it 60-54. All in favor of your winner by unanimous decision and still undefeated, Brendan Bad Boy Cook. And how about
we'll be back here on Rogers TV right after this.
Chris Aucoin.